The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The appearance of our visitor was a surprise to me, since I'd expected a typical country practitioner. He was a very tall, thin man, with a long nose like a beak, which jutted out between two keen grey eyes, set closely together and sparkling brightly from behind a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. "I came to see you, Mr. Holmes, because I am suddenly confronted with a most serious and extraordinary problem." "I have in my pocket a manuscript," said Dr. James Mortimer. "I observed it as you entered the room," said Holmes. "It is an old manuscript. The exact date is 1742. Dr. Mortimer drew it from his breast pocket. This family paper was committed to my care by Sir Charles Baskerville, whose sudden and tragic death some 3 months ago created so much excitement in Devonshire. I may say that I was his personal friend as well as his medical attendant. He was a strong-minded man, sir, shrewd, practical, and as unimaginative as myself. Yet he took this document very seriously, and his mind was prepared for just such an end as did eventually overtake him." Holmes leaned back in his chair, placed his fingertips together, and closed his eyes, with an air of resignation. Dr. Mortimer turned the manuscript to the light, and began to read it. "Of the origin of the Hound of the Baskervilles, there have been many statements. Yet as I come in direct line from Hugo Baskerville, and as I had the story from my father, who also had it from his, I have set it down with all belief, that it occurred even as is here set forth. Know, then, that in the time of the Great Rebellion, this manor of Baskerville was held by Hugo of that name, nor can it be gainsaid that he was a most wild, profane, and godless man. It chanced that this Hugo came to love the daughter of a yeoman who held lands near the Baskerville estate. But the young maiden would ever avoid him, for she feared his evil name. So it came to pass that one Michaelmas, this Hugo, with 5 or 6 of his idle and wicked companions, stole down upon the farm and carried off the maiden. When they had brought her to the hall, the maiden was placed in an upper chamber, while Hugo and his friends sat down to a long carouse. Now the poor lass did that which might have daunted the bravest or most active man, for by the aid of the growth of ivy which covered and still covers the south wall, she came down from under the eaves, and so homeward across the moor, there being 3 leagues betwixt the hall and her father's farm. It chanced that some little time later, Hugo found the cage empty, and the bird escaped. Then he became as one that hath a devil, for rushing down the stairs he ran from the house, crying to his grooms that they should saddle his black mare and unkennel the pack, and giving the hounds a kerchief of the maid's, he swung them to the line, and so off full cry in the moonlight over the moor. Now for some space his guests were unable to understand all that had been done in such haste, but at length they took horse and started in pursuit. They had gone a mile or 2 when they passed one of the night shepherds upon the moorlands, and they cried to him to know if he had seen the hunt. And the man said that he had indeed seen the unhappy maiden, with hounds upon her track. "But I have seen more than that," said he, "for Hugo Baskerville passed me upon his black mare, and there ran mute behind him such a hound of hell as God forbid should ever be at my heels." So the drunken squires rode onwards, but soon there came a sound of galloping across the moor, and the black mare dabbled with white froth when passed with trailing bridle and empty saddle. Then the revellers rode close together, for a great fear was on them. They came at last upon the hounds. These, though known for their valour, were whimpering in a cluster at the head of a deep dip or goyle, as we call it upon the moor, some slinking away and some, with starting hackles and staring eyes, gazing down the narrow valley before them. The company had come to a halt. 3 of them rode forward down the goyle.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?